Hey guys, it's Kevin, and this is gonna be another classic movie review for guys, and this movie I'm gonna be reviewing. I have been wanting to see this movie for so long, and I can't believe that I haven't seen this movie. Seriously, I can't believe it. I've been looking for this movie like crazy, and I told myself there are other adaptations of this movie, but I didn't want to see those. I wanted to see the original because the original is what made this movie classic, and it's what made it so good. And it was on Turn Classic Movies. I recorded it. I finally watched it, and that is the 1933 adventure fantasy classic King Kong. Finally, I've seen King Kong, and you know what, guys? I am so happy I saw this movie. I mean, I don't know why I took so long to watch this movie. I don't know why I haven't seen this movie, but for whatever reason, I haven't. There have been other remakes. There's one in 1976 with Jeff Bridges, and then one in 2005 with Jack Black, which I heard is really good. But I want to watch this one because that's what started the series. That's what put it on top. That's what started the whole story of King Kong. Without this movie, we wouldn't know the King Kong character. I mean, really, if this movie had not been as successful as it was, and I have to say that thank God, King Kong is not only one of my favorite classic movies of the ones I've reviewed. It's one of the best movies of all time, honestly, guys. King Kong, plain and simple, it's one of the best movies of all time. It's an amazing movie. I love every minute of King Kong. It's such an awesome movie, and there's just, it's awesome, really, guys. It's an awesome movie, and it's so impressive as well. Even today, it's impressive, and I'll get into that. But let's get to the plot of King Kong, which is awesome. I love the plot of this movie. We focus on this guy, Carl Denham, who he is famous for making wildlife films and he pretty much does it in realistic locations. He doesn't like doing it on sets. He's very dedicated. He wants to film it in a real location, like on location, like in a real exotic location, so he can actually have these incredible places, and everything's good for the movie except he's unable to find an actress for a female role. And he eventually recruits this girl, Anne, who is pretty much penniless. She doesn't have a lot of experience with acting, but he takes her along because he thinks she'd be really good. And they don't really know where they're going, but they know they're going on some sort of adventure. And eventually we realize that he tells them that they are going to this place called Skull Island, which is this deserted island that they don't really know what's there. It's shown on a map, and he thinks it's good to, share. And all he knows about is that there's something monstrous there, a legend entity known as only as Khan, and they pretty much think like he's joking. They don't really believe him. But when they do reach the island, they find this native village and there's this whole, tribe there, and they basically realize that they landed in the territory of basically this tribe's leader and have to do whatever they can to survive, and that's basically a plot of King Kong. I think that's an awesome plot. I love the plot of the movie, and there's other subplots in the movie that I really think is great, but I mean, it's just such a great movie. There's so many things you can say about this movie. Where to even start? Seriously, where to even start with this movie? I guess I'll start with the acting, because that's obviously what I do. Let's just first get into the acting in this movie. The acting is so good to this movie, and the thing I love about this movie is that you have to remember, it was made in 1933. A lot of movies back then have a reputation to be very, very cheesy. There were monster movies, and yeah, they're impressive to look at, but they're known for being very cheesy and having really cheesy one-liners and things like that. This movie surprisingly doesn't really have any of that. This movie is very ballsy, and everyone does a great job. Fay Wray as Anne is fantastic. She basically is the actress. She plays the actress that Carl is trying to cast. She does a fantastic job in the movie. You really do care about her character. You connect with her really well. You see that she's kind of unsure if she should do this or not, but she goes along with the ride anyway, and she just does a fantastic job in the movie. I really think she nailed everything perfectly, and she did a fantastic job. Really, she was fantastic. Robert Armstrong as Carl, I loved his character, honestly. He was my favorite character in the movie by far, because he is this guy that is so dedicated to filmmaking that people are honestly worried about his films, because they know how dangerous he is. He's like a daredevil. I mean, he's awesome in the movie. He does whatever he can to make these films as good as they are, and when he finds out about Khan, he's not hesitant. He wants to do this because he wants to get the best film possible, and I just loved about his character. I thought he was great. Really funny at times as well, I have to say. He had some really great one-liners. I definitely thought he was really great, and I definitely really love Robert Armstrong in the movie. Definitely really great character. Definitely he did a great job. Bruce Cabot as Drac, who's Drac? Jack Driscoll is this guy that Anne starts to fall in love with. He is the captain of the ship that they're on. Well, not the captain. He is the first mate, and they start to fall in love. Their love story, I thought, was just as interesting as the main storyline. I thought they definitely did a very good job. I definitely loved his character, and I just really liked his character overall. He was really, he really tried to help out Anne, and I thought that was really great, and I definitely really loved everyone in the movie. Everyone did a fantastic job, and everyone was fantastic, I have to say. They did a great job with that. The directing here is phenomenal. I mean, some of the best directing ever, I think, personally. The fact that they were able to take this story, to tell this story and take it seriously is so impressive. As I said, movies back then were very cheesy, and they did a good job with taking this seriously. Yeah, there might be some fun moments here and there, but for the most part, this is a pretty straightforward, serious story, and I like that they were able to take it seriously and not have to sugarcoat anything. I mean, this movie gets pretty dark for a 1933 movie. It gets really dark, and I was surprised with the dark locations and the dark direction that this movie went, which I was very happy about, and I really love that. I think they did a fantastic job with that in the movie, I have to say, and that's something I thought was great, because if this movie was cheesy, I mean, people just make fun of it, that's what it'd be known for, and I'm happy it's not, because this movie should be known for a lot more than just that. The screenplay is also great. I was surprised by how good the screenplay was in this movie. I mean, I was surprised by how into the story was, and not just the story with Khan and the tribe. I was into all the stories. I was into the love story, I was into the character of Carl. I mean, I was into pretty much everything in this movie. I thought all the characters were great. I thought the storyline was great. I really was into the whole movie, and I thought that was great. I mean, and something else I like is that it takes a while to get to Skull Island. About 30 minutes into the movie, they actually get to Skull Island, and it takes a while to get there, but I actually really like how long it took to get there, and the journey was definitely, when you get there, the payoff is really good, and that's something I think is definitely very good. I mean, the first, like, I'd say 30 to 40 minutes of this movie is just talking. It's dialogue and setting things up, but you know what? That was really great. I loved how slow paced they took it, because the payoff was great, and I thought they did a fantastic job with that, and I really, really enjoyed it, I have to say. Definitely, that was very good. They also did a great job with building up Kong. I mean, something I thought was really great in the movie is the way they build up Kong as a character. I mean, they built him up as, this leader who, and this could have gone horribly wrong. I mean, just think of what, it could have gone so badly. They could have built him up, and it could have been such a letdown and not gone as well, but no, the build-up was perfect, and they did a great job with keeping us hooked. I mean, if there was any point where you get bored, they keep you hooked, they keep you into the movie, and that's something I thought was fantastic. They keep you right there the whole time. That's something I thought was great in the movie. Obviously, once they get to Skull Island, that's when the movie really takes off, but, the mystery and intrigue of the world, I do have to say, once they get to Skull Island, though, that is really when the movie gets as good as it is. I mean, the mystery and the intrigue of this world, I mean, they didn't expect there to be this tribe, they didn't expect any of this. It's such a mysterious world, and it's almost like if you were just land in this desert island, it really makes you think about that, and I think they did a fantastic job with that, and I really loved that with this movie, I have to say. It was really terrific the way they did that, and the way they introduced that location is one of the best introductions to a location I've seen. They just land there, and they start seeing this tribe, and they get curious, and it's very realistic, and I really love that, and I thought that was great the way they did it, and I really love that, I have to say. And the writers did a great job with making the subplots just as interesting as the main story, because they took the time developing that story, which I thought was really great. Definitely, I thought that was really great. I mean, and plus, as I said, I was really into this film, but how can you not be into a film about this mysterious island? Like, how can you not be? And that's something I think is fantastic, the way they did that. And then I have to say, the movie's also very intense. This movie's extremely intense at points. Once they get to Skull Island, it gets extremely intense, and they did a great job with, again, not making it cheesy. I took it seriously. I was able to take seriously what was going on in the movie, and I thought that was fantastic the way they handled it. I definitely really loved that, and that's something I gotta say right off the bat, is that it was very, very intense, and I really have to love that. However, by far, the best thing about this movie is the cinematography. Holy shit, the cinematography in this movie is by far some of the best cinematography I have ever seen. I mean, I was astounded by the cinematography. It is stunning, stunning to look at, and that's because this movie was made in 1933. Okay, they didn't have computer effects, they didn't have the technology that we had today. They just used stop motion on Khan. But you know what? It looked amazing. They did a fantastic job. I mean, you wouldn't think they'd be able to make a movie like this in 1933. The fact that they were able to do this is just fantastic. You know, it's remarkable. The stop motion on Khan, yeah, it looks great, and yes, it's a little bit dated, but it still holds up today. It's still just as impressive because it literally looks like the ape is right there. It doesn't look like this is just some claymation thing that's picking up nothing. It looks like he is picking up this woman. It looks like a real interactions. That stuff looks real, and I think they did a fantastic job with that. I love the way they handled that, I have to say. That was fantastic, and the movie might also have some of my favorite camera work, I think, of all time. The camera work is so great in this movie. I mean, just any point, there's some great scenes. Khan, by the way, is one of the biggest badasses in movie history by far. I mean, there's a great scene where this Tyrannosaurus Rex goes near Anne. He, like, rips it to shreds. I mean, I was surprised by how graphic this film was. I mean, it's a 1933 film, and it got really graphic, and I really loved that, I have to say. I thought that was pretty fantastic, the way they handled that. The way it was perspective of Anne as well, you don't see Khan as just this creature who is there. You see him as someone who does care and someone who does have feelings. Not that they did a great job with that, with making us connect with his character and care about his character, because they could have easily just made him this monstrous creature that really is just there to kill people, but he's not there. He cares about humans. He doesn't want them to be hurt. He genuinely cares about Anne. I thought that was great. We saw that, and I really love that. I mean, she's obviously freaking out, but they eventually realize that he means no harm, and that was by far one of my favorite parts of the movie. However, by far, of course, the Empire State Building is one of the most iconic scenes in film history. It looks just as breathtaking as it did back then. The fact that they were able to capture that, I mean, it's just fantastic, and I don't think they used sets to this movie. If they did, then holy shit, they were incredible, but it looked like real locations to me, and that's awesome the way they handled that. I love that, and I think they did a fantastic job with doing that, I have to say. And also, something else I was really impressed with was the way the filmmakers took their time with this movie. They could have easily just post-converted it and not done a lot with it, but no, this is why movies suck when they go to 3D nowadays, because you post-convert it, and it's terrible. Michael Bay should learn a thing or two from this movie, because again, it really takes you back to that time where they didn't have special effects. They didn't have the greatest sound. No, the sound in this movie is not the loudest. It's not that good, but it's still impressive because what they could do with the movie, they didn't need that stuff. They didn't need high-class special effects. They didn't need rich sound. All they needed was this incredible claymation that looks so real, and the way they handled it. You can tell that the filmmakers very much took their time with the movie. They did whatever they could to take their time with it, and that was fantastic, I have to say. The way they handled that, I just thought was perfect. I love that. The way they handled that was just great, and I just thought that was great the way they did that. I mean, definitely, I wish more movies were like that nowadays. I wish the way the filmmakers took their time with this movie is how movies were made nowadays. It would be awesome if that happened. It's probably never gonna happen, but I wish that happened. The editing to this movie is also great, I have to say. Okay, enough about the special effects. I've gone enough about that. But the editing is also great because, again, the movie's very slow paced, but they do such a great job in building up Khan, and it really pays off. I mean, every time they talk about Khan, I was like, I want to see him now. I'm so hyped up. Like, they did a great job with hyping you up to see Khan, and the payoff is so good. It's as rewarding as you think. It works perfectly, and the way they built it up, I mean, it was just fantastic. I mean, the build-up and the payoff was great. That really was something I thought was great in the movie, was the payoff. It was fantastic. The climax of this film, by the way, that has to be one of my favorite climaxes in film history. I was literally glued to my screen toward the end of this movie. I was so into it. I was surprised by how into it I was, but I was glued to the screen. I didn't know what was going to happen next, and I loved every minute of it. The climax is so good. It's so on the edge of your seat, and it's perfect. Honestly, it is. And King Kong is and always will remain a classic. There will never be a film adaptation as good as this one. Regardless of how good the effects look in the 2005 one, I've heard that film is too long. I've heard there's things that could have been cut out of that film. I've heard compared to this film, it's just not as good. There never will be. And that's because this was the one that started it all. This was the movie that made this franchise a thing. This was the thing that made King Kong the icon that he is today. I mean, without this movie, we wouldn't have movies like Son of Kong. Hell, we probably wouldn't even have a Planet of the Apes because of this movie. Honestly, we probably wouldn't, because they wouldn't think it would have worked out. And that's why this movie is so impressive. And it's also one of the most suspenseful movies out there. By far, one of my favorite adventure movies of all time that I've watched so far, definitely. If you want a real thrill ride, this is the kind of movie for you. I mean, this movie's a non-stop thrill ride at points. There are points where it's a non-stop thrill ride. It never lets go until the final climax. You're constantly there, and that's something I think is fantastic with the movie. The way they handled that was great, and I really did love that, I have to say. Something else I love is that they didn't sugarcoat anything. They showed things that they shouldn't show. It seemed like a very risky movie to me for 1933. Because like I said in my Lolita review, they had certain restrictions. They weren't able to show things like sex and nudity, but they could show super graphic violence. It doesn't make sense, but they were able to do that. I mean, this violence is really graphic stuff. I mean, King Kong, like, rips this T-Rex apart. It's really graphic stuff, guys, but it's awesome to look at, and they did a fantastic job capturing it. It's awesome, honestly. I mean, it really was incredible. Check this out, please, if you haven't seen this movie. Check it out to see how far we've come with technology, sound, and camera work. It also shows you how there was, the time when you didn't need all that stuff to tell a story. You didn't need good sound, good camera work. All you needed was a good story, amazing, the effect, they didn't even need the amazing effects. Good story, like, they could have just done that, and they did a great job with handling that. The way that was handled was perfect. It's one of my favorite monster movies of all time, definitely. I really want to see Son of Khan. I don't think I'm going to, but it definitely is one of the best I've ever seen. It's one of my favorite classic movies by far. And of course, King Kong gets it 5 out of 5 or an A+. It's a fantastic movie. I could talk for hours about it. I'm amazed by how astounded I was by this film, but it's by far one of the best black and white movies of all time. I absolutely love it, and it's such a masterpiece. Please see it. If you want to see great filmmaking, if you want to see a movie where you just go wow, because it is one of those movies that's like you sit there and you go wow, you're so astounded by how well it turned out. I mean, me personally, I was just sitting there like, holy shit, this is something amazing. And that's when you know that a movie is really affecting you. That's when you know that a movie is great, because when you can just sit there and say wow, that's when you know a movie is doing its job. That's when you know that you are hooked in a movie, and especially a movie from 1933. I think that is incredible, a way a movie can just do that. And the thing I love about this movie, again, is that they don't have very high special effects. All they have is suspense. That's all it is. It's just suspense. It's a story. There's nothing much else to it, and that's keeping me on the edge of my seat, and it's awesome the way they're handling that. I love that they did that. I thought it was fantastic. I don't know if this movie got any awards, but it damn well should have. It should have gotten a lot of awards. It is on the AFI's top 100 movies at 43. Thank God it is. It definitely deserves a spot there. King Kong is one of the best movies of all time. There has been talks of a prequel called Kong Skull Island, which I hope never happens. I really hope that it is set to be released March 10th, 2017, but I'm not all looking forward to that movie. This was all we needed. We didn't need another film. There was a sequel called Son of Khan, which I thought was ridiculous, and that's basically it. And yeah, so amazing movie. Please see King Kong if you haven't. That's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm so impressed by this movie, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Girl Meets World, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.